Pretty sick, eh? Anyways, that's just the end of a ritual. Burning all the shit I need to burn. Forget where I was at. I said I had to unpack something. Alright, sorry everyone, for about 8 minutes into this next video, there is going to be, sorry, I got these bubbles. This is from playing with my old bubble. This is from popping a zit. So is this. And that's from, well, been there for a while. I think I shaved, I went over it, I cut it again. Anyways, the next 8 minutes on my video is going to look shittier. And if you find the volume low, my bad. It does increase. I think twice it increases very slightly, but you can hear the difference. And then whenever it gets back into the clear video, you should be able to hear it, no problem. I want to just start off with this, just so it doesn't look so shitty and people turn it off right away. So I think it's about 8 minutes and 20 some seconds of the shittiness, and then it goes into the rest, into good video. But even the shitty video's got some info that precedes the other info that is all good info. So anyways, enjoy.
Believe in COVID, and you can say, well, how can you not believe in a virus? Well, look at my videos if you don't know that. But anyways, all that shit aside, I want to talk about a few things, and one overarching thing is going to be kabbalah and Western ceremonial magic, and how people think it's an abrahamic religion or a strand of it, an offshoot of it, and I have no problem with people thinking that. And in some ways, I kind of see how they think that, and I understand it, so that's fine. But I don't think it is the same thing, and I think that happens within the eye of the holder, eye of the person doing it. It's up to them. They can treat it like it's part of Christianity or Judaism or even Islam or any religious sect or religion. But to me, I don't treat it like that whatsoever. First and foremost, I do ceremonial witchcraft, which is ceremonial magic using that curriculum. But I pull things from initiation into hermetics. I pull things from this lovey-dovey new age shit that goes around, that there is some useful things within everything. Doesn't matter how out of balance it is, there's something good in everything. There's also something bad in everything. And that can even be said for all the religions. So this is why I believe you gotta take from where you want and you incorporate it now. If you're doing two systems that you have to have an altar and you have to start praying and worshiping deity, you may not want to do that at the same time. So I understand when people say, well, you shouldn't have more than one tradition, blah, 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 blah. I don't believe you can't have more than one tradition. I believe you can't do more than one thing at the same time. If you are going through a curriculum, initiation, you're going through grades, you're going through a year and a day, you're going through whatever it is, you need to respect it and follow the rules. And one of the rules is, mix and match. Well, then don't mix and match while you're doing that. But ultimately, once you pass, you come and you know what that is, because technically someone's, in this day and age anyways, unless you go to somewhere where that's still part of the original tradition they had, if you're learning from someone else who's now in the States, Canada, Australia, London, or fucking Britain, wherever, France, Germany, if you're learning from somebody and he's charging you for that service, technically, if you went to the original place where they're teaching that shit, you probably have to pay to get into it anyways. You probably have to pay to become a member and learn from them. So yes, but the person teaching you is probably going to be teaching you all they know as well. You're going to get everything. They're not just going to restrict you to one thing now. If they know many different traditions, they're going to focus on one, but they're still going to pull from their knowledge of all those things. Whenever you know different religions and spiritualities, when you're doing your magic, you end up incorporating all you know within the same time, the same space. When I do a candle, if I'm praying to a deity, and that deity through different spiritualities has different names, I put all those names on that bitch, because I want all the energy that's ever been put into that thought form, or deity, God, whatever you want to call it. I want it all And truth be told, it probably speaks about manifestation, because everybody all around the world is probably still thinking about Jesus, and whether you don't think Jesus is the sun or Jesus is Jupiter, because Pisces the fish, the Jesus fish, but then the Son of God, the Sun, was born the 25th, and all that has to do with the solstice. So that's up to you. But let's just say on Thursday, if you want to use Jupiter, Thor, Zeus, shit like that. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody's religion. All I'm trying to do is use multiple names that mean the same dude. Not only that, if there's a bunch of Marvel fans thinking about Thor, I can pull their power out of their fucking mind and believe in this to manifest my reality as well. I mean, it doesn't have to be an ancient deity for it to have power. But if you are going to use an ancient religion, you do have to have respect and not be disrespectful, and take something that's sacred and keep it sacred, and don't be profane with something that is sacred. Now, Kabbalah is viewed. Kabbalah, the Great Work of Self-Transformation, is the one I do, but a lot of people think Kabbalah is just an offshoot of Christianity, Abrahamic religions. It all comes from the same person, and Goetia sometimes maybe gets overlooked because it has to do with demons, fucking with demons, but that comes from Solomon, who is in the Bible, and he trapped those 72 demons in a brass vessel. So there I would say maybe you're more right. Kabbalah, the Great Work of Self-Transformation, uses the angels, the archangels, but to me, when I use those archangels, it's just for protection from things that I may not understand yet. Meaning, everybody who's read these books, everybody who believes that these demons are real, and everybody who believes that these angels protect you from those real demons, so therefore they are also real, okay? Their job is to protect you from this, okay? Everybody that believes that can make that real. And being a newbie on the scene, using this stuff, I think it would be foolish to not follow that protocol and just be like, sorry guys, I don't think you're dangerous, so you're not going to hurt me. I said in my the last video that if you don't believe, if you don't know something is wrong, and I was referring to doing two traditions at the same time as the energy is mixing and fucking you up. So if you don't know that, then it is most likely not to hurt you. And that is true and untrue at the same time, but on different levels for different things. And I know it's fucked up to say, but there are times where you can mix and match and things work great, and there's times where you can't, especially when it's opposing forces. How can you use positivity and negativity at the same time to bring something to manifestation? Now, there's only a few times where I think it's possible to do that, but it's very hard to do that. But for the most part, you're using one or the other. And neutrality, unless you think neutrality is a mix of both in perfect balance, but I think balance and being neutral are two different things. But I think they're similar. But anyway, so what I mean by all that is simply that those angels were created to protect from the demons, or the demons were created for the angels to have something to protect you from. Either way, there's enough belief in these things that once you start reading it and you start learning it, and if you learn that, then now it can hurt you and now it can affect you. Before that, it may not affect you. A kid growing up who doesn't know about Jesus, the devil, God, demons, the saints, the archangels, malevolence, none of this. Will go through its life and will have tragedies and issues and get pain and stuff like that, but it isn't until the introduction of either Satan, the devil, Lucifer, demons, that he thinks that, okay, there's an evil force in the world, and that's what does the evil force. And hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I just noticed that my shortly after I did this one,
Alright, sorry about all that shitty looking video that was just on. It's just because my phone was dead, so I started recording with the tablet, and I couldn't get it to send to the tablet, so I literally recorded the tablet screen with my phone. But anyways, so once that child gets introduced to, it puts the label, this is the evil that happens, this is the name of the guy that creates the evil, this is the name of the guy that creates your good thoughts. it starts more than just giving him, this is evil and this is good. These are the two polarities. And you got to pick which side you're on, even though that's part of it. But it makes the person feel insignificant, small, you know, just shitty. But then that starts the kids' fears, you know what I mean? Depending on the child, depending on how they believe, depending on how their brain operates, it can start. But anyways, that's not what I'm here to talk about. But that gets started way back then. And then from there, that expands outwards. And then you become an adult, and all your life you've been hearing about the devil and about God and about devil and about God. Sometimes you've asked for things from God and you got it, maybe. Probably more times you didn't get it, or vice versa. And then sometimes you really thought you saw maybe the devil in somebody, and sometimes you thought maybe, okay, well, maybe there is no devil shit. And this all depends on you, your emotions, and what's going on within your life to bring out these circumstances. But how this all relates to Kabbalah, the great work of self-transformation, and spirituality, and everything everybody's doing today, and, you know, people insulting each other on YouTube because what they're doing is wrong and what they're doing is right, and they know what's right and the other person is wrong, and this and that is the same thing we were taught as children. No, when you talk, when it's not your turn, the devil's making you do that. Now, when I was a kid, they didn't say that. Although back when my parents were kids, they would say things along those lines, maybe not for talking out of turn, but it was bad enough to get a fucking hit with a ruler in a Christian fucking school from a nun if you were talking out of turn. So, you know, it's arguably like, oh, no, I wasn't whacking the kid, I was whacking the devil out of the kid. Oh, okay. That makes it okay to hit children. Nun, thanks. Yeah, fuck you. But, and I already talked about that. The reason why nuns and priests had all that pent up anger and were hitting little boys and girls who talked out of turn, who made the class laugh when they shouldn't have, said bad remarks, who weren't listening, who weren't obedient, who couldn't sit there still. The reason they would hit these children is because they were so angry and pissed off, and because they've been suppressing a huge part of themselves, their sexual drive. They're not allowed to have sex. And in all honesty, and this is my opinion, but maybe a lot of these nuns and priests were maybe of a sexual orientation that they like their own sex. And in their time and age, there was no place for that. If you were a woman that liked women, or if you were a man that liked other men, well, apparently the devil was within you and the church wouldn't accept you. So what would you do? You would try to suppress it all your teenage life instead of, you know, whatever, pretend you're something you're not. And then when it comes time, instead of telling your family, maybe you worked up the, you know, you thought you worked it up to say, I'm sorry guys, there's something wrong with me, blah, 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 blah. And you chicken out and you say, I'm going to be a priest. I'm going to be a nun. And it's better than, you know, actually taking on a partner and loving somebody for the rest of my life. And, you know, they're angry about that. So they go into this thinking maybe Jesus or God can save them. Yeah, Jesus or God is technically the one that made them perfect. There's nothing fucking wrong with them. But they go into the convent, or they go into the seminary priesthood, I think it's called seminary. And, you know, they're suppressing their sexual emotion, their sex drive. So they have that all pent up Mars anger energy within them because they're not releasing it in a healthy fucking way. And they start, every time a little boy or girl gets mad at each other, maybe a little boy touches a little girl's hand in class because they're showing their affection for each other, which is nothing wrong with that. And the nun gets mad because they don't get to do that, or the priest gets mad because they don't get to do that. And whack, whack, whack to children. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. But once again, these people aren't the God of Christianity. Now, I'm not saying that God of Christianity is good or bad. I don't know the motherfucker, so how could I tell you? I think it's a thought form. I think it's an egregore. I think almost all gods are thought forms and egregores. It doesn't matter how old your tradition is. I'm pretty sure it's all symbolic representations to speak to your mind. When people did something and it worked, they assumed that it was from a deity. But if you do something now, once again, like chaos magic, and you pray to fucking the Star Trek fucking pantheon that Phil Hine created, you can have results and manifest money, wealth, health. It doesn't matter. Yet, none of those people are gods. So anyways, it really bugs me when I see other people in other spiritualities arguing against each other because, you know, maybe they're a fraud. Maybe they're not a fraud and they're legit and they think they really have something to offer, but no one's watching their stuff. What happens when you're focusing on something too long? You know, you want to manifest your channel to be popular. Yet that's all you can think about is, when is it gonna happen already? When's it gonna happen already? When's it gonna happen already? Well, the more you think about it, the less your subconscious can think about it. And, you know, I've said this before, nobody is bulletproof from what I'm about to say. You can get emotionally blocked up and think you can't be the problem, everybody else must be the problem. And that sounds ludicrous, because any rational person would assume that if everybody else has a problem with you, then you would be the common denominator. Yet, when you're in that state, you can't see that. You are blinded by your own knowledge. I'm not blaming, I'm not pointing a finger, I'm not saying this about anybody. I'm just stating facts that I think are real within my realm, my religion, and my spirituality, not religion. And, you know, it just is what it is to me. There's many types of blocks, you know. I think when it comes to the elements, which is what I use, which is what my Kabbalah consists of. It consists of planetary magic, the elements, and using those two things, planetary magic, the elements, the astrology signs within my body, my makeup, to transform my body, transform myself into a better version of myself, to try to find out the real ways of doing things that are productive, to transform my thoughts into actions that I want to either happen or to remove things from happening. And that's what I try to go ahead and teach. But what I'm teaching is just like add-ons to other spiritualities that I don't necessarily do, but I still think this knowledge is universal in some sense, because I may not know about your tradition, but I do know about the brain and breathing, and we all have to breathe correctly. We all should have a small understanding of our brains, our minds, how the breathing connects to the brain, how the brain connects to the blood, oxygen flow throughout your body to oxygenate all your organs, how your organs regenerate every 30 some days. Well, not everyone, they all have a different time limit, but I think it's like you make new cells every 30 days or 33 days or something like that. That's why that 33 number is so gosh darn popular. 33 vertebrae, you know. Jesus died at 33 years old. It's always 33. Well, it's not always 33, but that makes a 6, you know, and the 666 is carbon. Most people don't know that though. And people just see 666, oh, it's the devil's number. Ah, scared. It's like, no, it's carbon. 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. Simple. That's what we're made out of. And I don't know if this is part of the electric universe or the working model of just atoms in general, but everything is moving. Everything is vibrating. I remember that from grade 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 science class. And it didn't matter if you're in biology, chemistry. I took even physics, just in high school. I'm not a physicist, but I took introduction to physics in grade 12. And it was really cool to learn about speeds, vectors, things about like how if you jumped off a building and you dropped an apple beside you because you're both over a certain mass, that you would both fall at the same time. People assume that their body would come down faster than the apple, but that's not the case. If you dropped it at the same time, you'd be staring at the apple the whole way down. And that's physics. That's gravity or whatever you want to call it. You know, people are starting to say they're starting to change. Gravity is not a real idea anymore because of certain aspects they didn't take into account. And I don't know. All I know is what I did learn. And part of what I learned was that atoms are always moving, whether it's the atoms in my body right now, from my lips that are moving continuously, or my eyelids that are closing, or to this pentagram that's got something carved on the back of it, or this tree that protects me from lots of other stuff. These are both consecrated and have a specific purpose that I've said one purpose of them before in the past. This was the newest edition. I put them both on the same chain because, well, I consecrated this gold chain too. And, you know, gold's a good conductor of electricity, and a lot of things are electricity. Atoms are always moving. So whether it's something like this that doesn't have a consciousness, or maybe it doesn't have a subconsciousness, maybe it has its own collective consciousness within it, and the consciousness of this material is to stay this hard material and to last and to not break. That's the consciousness. But if my consciousness gets in the way of that, and my consciousness is determined to break this consciousness, then I can break those atoms because I have more power over my consciousness than this does, because I'm a living being. And I think that's how we operate with animals and everything else too. But that's not something I'm going to get into. But point is, atoms are always moving. There's always movement. Your electron is always circling your neutron and your proton. Protons and neutrons are always together. So the plus and the neutral are always together, and the electron circles that, not allowing anything in to touch it. And normally, like in electricity, the electrons is where the electricity comes from. This is why electrons or negative ions are generally where the electricity comes from. Now, you can't have one without the other. You can't have, your car battery won't work if you don't have the plus and the minus. But you're measuring the minus. If you have more pluses, then you're fucked. Just like in the human body. You have too many protons, you got a low pH, and you're in trouble. That means you got way too much carbon dioxide within your body, and you need to remove that shit. You need to start breathing deeply. So negative ions are what produce electricity. Negative ions are what we get whenever the water hits the ground. You know, water moving in general creates negative ions. This is hydroelectricity. We have hydroelectricity here. Waterfalls are hydroelectricity. Having a little water fucking, a fountain in your house would be a type of a negative ion generator, would be a fountain. When you take a shower, that's why it feels so good. That's why you can just stare at the water. Unless you're on your tap and you're just staring at that water. It's like, no, you're not just staring at that water. Your subconscious took over to pause you for a second to get some fucking healing, is what's happening. So you need to understand those things. I think everybody should have a base knowledge of these things. And if people aren't interested in it, then that's fine. But if the majority of people know this stuff, then everybody just starts doing it and they don't know why. And that's something that is very important. That plays into this collective consciousness crap and subconscious programming crap and the subconscious automatic pilot crap. If enough people know a base information about how the human body works, some relevant information that's not contradictory, that helps us heal and renew and regenerate our bodies over and over and over again, longer, if that's what you want, then we all benefit from it. The few can help the many, and this is how. There has to be enough people out there that know this stuff, that help spread it, and eventually people will find the correspondence that is the most relative to them, that helps them understand it, and then they'll be fine with it. You know, whether it's something simple as, you know, jogging makes your heart better, to, well, anytime you start breathing faster, all right, the more oxygen you take in, the more carbon dioxide you remove. So your heart starts pumping faster to do that process, and it's healing for you and it helps you lose weight, but it helps your heart maintain itself, heart health, cardiovascular, blah, blah, blah. Whether it's jogging is good for you or it's all the details about how something like jogging, and I know there's damage to your knee and all that, but that's not the point I'm trying to get at. The point is whether you want the scientific explanation or you want the simplified, just jogging is good for you. Any kind of cardio is good for you. It doesn't matter. That's what I'm talking about. Some people have to know the scientific reasoning. Some people just need the base reasoning. But most people will just go with what they know. But what happens when people start being deceived on a mass scale? And they start going with the wrong information. And then things like, well, whether it's wrong or right, I'm getting hits on my YouTube station, my channel, and I don't give a fuck. I want money. I want to sit at home and make money off this shit. And you can justify it all day long with, well, I'm doing something good. I'm providing a service. My other videos are good. But that's not what the masses are looking at. The masses are looking at your bad videos. Well, you know, then it's kind of shitty. It's just, I get the point. You're trying to draw people in with polarity, and that works. That works. But you also have to maintain them. If they're only coming back and watching those videos, not the other videos, well, anyways, I don't know. I have to break that down a little bit better. Pretty sick, eh? Anyways, that's just the end of a ritual. Burning all the shit I need to burn. Forget where I was at. I said I had to unpack something. All right. So what I was going to unpack, I probably won't unpack, but I'll say, if you're putting out something there, if you're helping someone evolve, then it will help you evolve. If you're helping someone learn, it will help you learn. If you're helping someone earn money, you will earn money. I think there's a definite exchange ratio, not ratio, but a definite, what you give, you get, okay? Now, is it just love and fear, and you can change that into anything? I think on a certain level you can, but you have to have the right things in place. If you are generating fear from people and you want to exchange that into love or financial currency, money, whatever, make sure you say financial currency. When I use my transformation sigil, I always use the word currency, because I'm transforming energy, electricity, whatever you want to call it. Currency is a form of electricity and energy. So, and when you attach, that's one of the reasons I think they attach the word currency to money, so that you can easily change people's fear and hatred for you into money. And that's how some people's popularity boosts up. You know, Eminem, different rappers come out the gate making fun of people, and then it starts beefs, and then the beefs make money because people are giving their attention to them. So anyways, but there's definitely I don't want to say karma, but there's definitely a circuit effect here. Okay, I think karma and circuits, finishing the circuit, completing the circuit, circles in everything, but I think finishing the circuit is definitely an important thing to understand when it comes to everything, whether it's you learning yourself, whether it's someone else learning yourself, someone else you're teaching, or if you're trying to mislead people, or you're trying to drive up views on your content via either deception or trying to teach via pretending to be the deceivers. Regardless, if you're doing it with a good intention, and the goal, intention doesn't always mean good. You know, you can have a good intention, but if you mislead people and do stupid things, depending on if you think it's you that caused that, you know, then that's coming back to you. I think it definitely has to be a starting point and a finishing point to everything. So if you start something and you cause something, and there's a bunch of effects, well, you're going to reap that effect. Cause and effect is a law of the universe, as far as I can tell. Those 7 Kabbalion rules, the 7 hermetic principles of the Kabbalion, do take effect on this plane. All is mentalism. All is in the mind of the all. We are all connected technically. All the gods there ever was and ever will be, all the ancestors that have passed on, all the people alive now, including the plants and the animals. We are all connected. We are all one, but we're all having a separate experience right now. Until we can all combine as one, maybe this thing will keep going around and round and round and round and round it goes. Maybe it is just about self-evolution. Maybe if you learn to evolve yourself, and you learn that you are connected with one, and you get as high as you can on this level within the circumstances we are dealt, such as, you know, as much emotional bullshit that we have to deal with, as much victim mentality we have to overcome, as much tragedy and hardship and malevolence that happens to us. If we can go through those things, dealing with our emotions and transmuting them, meaning feeling them, experiencing them, but not sending more hatred out because we're in that state of fear. If we can take our malevolent selves and intake malevolence and tragedy that happens to us, and instead of affecting everyone around us, so we're pissed off and I fucking affect 10 people around me, that affects another 20 people, and it just keeps growing exponentially. Instead of doing that, we take it in and we transmute it, we understand it, we try to understand it, we try to learn about it as much as we can with our human minds, our capabilities, and we don't affect people. I think that's one level that you have to work on. But like I said, this pentagram, I wear it because, first of all, it protects me. It's always been a protection amulet for me. more like a ward, I would say, but I also have a bunch of those in my pockets all around me. And this tree, right, I know whenever 5G was coming out, I made a video saying, well, the 5G millimeter waves have trouble going through the trees because trees are very powerful. They exhale oxygen, they intake carbon dioxide, so they put out something that is able to stop radiation. They block a lot of shit. There's a lot of different things that can stop these 5G millimeter waves if you believe the literature they allow us to read. Now, if I was them, I wouldn't allow us to read the proper literature, but once again, you gotta pick your fights. You gotta pick your fights. You can't debunk and fight on every single point. You can hold in the back of your mind a percentage of I respectfully take the position, let's agree to disagree on that kind of thing. You could have a percentage of that in every little thing if you want. Like I said, I believe we went to the moon, but there's still a percentage of it that doesn't make sense in my mind. And I just haven't found the literature to either make it make sense or to blow it all out of the water. But for right now, I'm just fine with understanding that I'm 80% sure we landed on the moon. But there's 20% of me says, well, it's really not possible. And there's stuff we don't know about that. And, why was it just so happens to be that there's something bad going on in Russia and about to start in China at the same time, where a bunch of people are going to die, that the United States of America just so happened to have the biggest space race on the media, on Hollywood, and making movies about it still to this day to tell us that it definitely happened. Why are they trying to reinforce it so goddamn much? So there's still these little questions that just pop up, and I don't understand it. So, but nonetheless, that's just my point, is what I mean. You can reserve that right to disagree, but to go out there and fight people on every little thing like that, it's counterintuitive, it's counterproductive, it's not gonna do you any good when there's things you can be doing to yourself right now, small little things that give you huge benefit and would actually help you come to decisions on these things, help you understand and let go a lot of these things. You can research all day long, over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. But if you do a little bit of internal work, you're gonna have some inner peace. And if you want to understand something, take a minute and breathe. Breathe. Slowly. Get out of that other mind that's being analytical and fearful and thinking everybody's against you. Because for as much as there might be groups against us, there's a bunch of groups that are for us, that are trying to help humanity at the same time. There's millions and millions, maybe a billion people around the world that want humanity to win. So instead of focusing on all the bad, maybe it would be beneficial 4 days out of the 7 in a week to focus on all the benefits and all the good things that humanity can do and what we can learn and how you can help and be of service. And maybe the other 3, you focus on all the negativity. This is how you kind of integrate what I was saying earlier. How do you do negative and positive at the same time I never said in a positive way, but this is one, it's not really an example of that, but one way to do that, whenever you banish, you invoke. So you're banishing something away, you're removing it from you, that is minusing it, that is negative, the minus. And when you add something to you, you're positive, right? So this is how you this is how you do the plus and minus thing at the same time, using both polarities at the same time. Male and female is also the same. You can use both your minds at the same time. So what happens whenever you're banishing programming you don't want and invoking new habits that you do want that are healthy for you, and you are connecting your right side of your mind, which is your male, which I know I'm touching the left side of my mind, but technically the left side of your mind is controlled by the right and the right side of your mind is controlled by the left. What happens whenever you connect your conscious mind with your unconscious mind and you have your neocortex talking to both those other parts and you're in this polarized state? Well, that's magic. You're now doing magic. Whenever you have this working with the polarities and you're in between the polarities and you're in between the genders, you're like Mercury. You're in between the two poles. Mercury, or well, Gemini is the sign of the two poles, right? Which Mercury likes Gemini for that way, right? So that's him between the two polarities. And Mercury is transgender or hermaphrodite, Hermes. So, you know, he's between the genders as well. He holds the caduceus and he's an air sign. So that's the air and the water, right? Therefore, you become Mercury. And the number one card in tarot is the Magician. And to me, that's always been symbolism of Mercury and, you know, Thoth, Hermes. That's who I call on. Well, on Wednesdays, that's the names I write on the fucking candle, plus a few others, but that's what we're trying to do here. And there's many ways that I've told you to do it, like just simply crossing your arms engages both sides of your mind. So you stand like this when you're learning something, it'll help relax you. You start breathing correctly. And instead of being in fear and using your emotions, instead of your emotions putting you in whatever you want to call it, vibration, or you want to call it in a different state or different psychology or different, I don't know what you want to call it, but whatever the fuck you want to call it, your emotions allow what kinds of thoughts to come in. But at the same time, the way you breathe starts that process as well. So everything is connected to you. One's not before the other and the other is not before the other. If you're breathing fast and concentrating on only taking oxygen instead of exhaling carbon dioxide, well then you're going to be in more of a rushed out state, like you're fucking jacked up on amphetamines or cocaine or something to that effect, or just too much coffee and caffeine. But if you're breathing deeply, well then you're going to do the parasympathetic, and you're gonna start healing in your body and the digestive system, and you're gonna, you know, invoke all these good things of you. And once again, I'm not saying this is a fear and a good breath battle within yourself, but these two systems are always trying to fight within you to come online. Which one's gonna come on, you know? Which one is he gonna pick? But if most people don't even know they have a choice, well then what happens? And, you know, I personally think when you do banish, reject, deny, and if you add the other part of accepting what you want to happen, which is banishing and invoking within just your mind, you're treating every thought you get as an offer. Like, oh, I'm never gonna be rich. I'm always gonna have to work at this job that I hate for the rest of my life. No, I banish that thought and I accept that I'm gonna find my passion. And I accept that I'm gonna take on that passion, I'm gonna take on that burden, and it's gonna be the best thing I ever do for my entire life, and I'm gonna enjoy my life, and everything is gonna work out for me. Something to that effect, you know, that's just off the top of my head. If I was writing it would be better, but the point is, you can choose the direction of your life by doing that simple practice. And once you start seeing results from that, you're gonna understand that, well, okay, if that worked, well then maybe that book he says probably does have a good effect, or maybe the other crap he says probably does work. But I'm telling you right now, this works. This works. And if you do it, you're gonna start steering your life to the direction you want. You wanna take the reins, not the ride. You know, your neophyte, your year and a day, your beginning initiation stage gets you in tune with nature. It puts you on the same frequency as nature. Therefore, in the springtime, you get super horny. In the summertime, you want to have fun and party. And then fall time, you start getting sleepy, and, you know, you're getting laid back and you're relaxed, and you maybe eat too many sweets, and you know, it's, you know, Christmas time, you're eating a whole lot, and then all of a sudden winter hits and it's time to go to sleep, and you just want to sleep, and maybe you become a little depressed. And springtime comes around and you're starting to get happy again and horny again. Well, this happens, but when you're too much in tune with the cycle of nature, you're taking the ride, and you can tell her what to do and she's going to do it, but you don't want to be depressed in the wintertime, because then you're going to manifest things that are depressing. And if you're horny too much, depending on how you handle that, and if you have discipline, you might end up fucking up your life and your relationships, and, you know, all those bad things. If you're partying too much, plus you're horny, plus this, plus that, that starts the depression. You know, you might end up killing yourself. So being in touch with nature is great, because then you can affect her. But even she doesn't want you just piggybacking her all the time. She wants you to be your own person. So that's the starting phase. You get back in tuned with nature. This is why I also say women have an easier time with that, because if a woman camps for a few days, their menstrual cycle gets in sync with nature, with the moon cycle. After I don't know how long it is there, probably differs per woman. Like I said, too many women together inside a room. My wife said at her work, all the girls around her, all their menstrual cycles synced up. They're all having their period roughly around the same time. And same thing with the clocks. The clocks with the pendulum. Those pendulums all tend to sync up, even if they're all timed at a different time. So this is why I think women have an easier time with initiation. They already have their initiation. And as soon as they go into nature, they sync up with it like that. And like I said, I'm not necessarily proud, but I do have more of a negative, going by my chart and how I feel and the anxiety and depression, different things that I feel, and how I don't think I would ever commit suicide. But, you know, I also, anyways, I have more of the negative polarity within my chart. You know, my girl planets, where they are, and the girl signs, you know, meaning negative signs versus the positive signs. I got way more planets in negative signs than I have in positive signs. Luckily, I have my 2 girls in a positive sign, but then all my guys are in negative signs. So my polarity is a little balanced out, but it's still all mostly negative, just being that there's only 2 girls and the rest are guys if you're doing the 7 planets. But even the rest of them, you know, those other 3, it's just way more men than there is women, which is stupid. But the point is, I have more of a negative flow, and maybe that's why I come out here. Maybe that's why I want to help people. Maybe that's why, because women like dealing with people more versus men like dealing with things more. That's been proven, but it's a 60-40 ratio. 60% of women to 40% of men. But there's still 40% of men that have that negative ratio, and there's still 40% of women that have more of a positive ratio, meaning there's 40% of women that are more like men within their body, not like on a sexual thing, not on a sexual interest, none of that, but on a negative polarity within their body. There's 40% of women that are more like men. There's 40% of men that are more like women. And I said it before, me and my wife, we're opposites like that. She's a female and I'm a male. But when it comes to our birth charts, hers is more masculine and mine is more feminine, in the way of negative is feminine, because they accept, and men are projective as we push through. We are the plus through the minus. That's how it's always been. And like I said in my last video, men are more positive and they don't believe in malevolent things as much. Therefore, when we get a simple cold and we're sick, it's the end of the world. And then if you put that in the scope of some tragedy, well, this is why men are more crazy. They're more likely to go do a risky job. They're more likely to go to jail, more likely to try robbing a bank or robbing a fucking liquor store or a pharmacy. But they're also more likely to die doing those things or kill themselves when things get too intense. Just fuck it, it's not worth it. Whereas women will hold that burden. They're made to hold that burden because they have to think more negatively, because they have to assume the worst when they're taking care of an infant. Therefore, that's why women, and it's a good thing, because if women started killing themselves, then we wouldn't be able to continue our race. We'd be done. So women are more important than men, straight up. And they are more in tune with nature than men, straight up. Doesn't mean they're getting out of whack. Doesn't mean staying inside and being on Wi-Fi and being stuck in a cell phone. If you're that kind of woman, well, then you might not be in tune with nature. But all I'm saying is it won't take you 2 years to do your neophyte like it took me, is what I'm saying. You'll get a hell of a lot faster. So anyways, I have a whole lot more to say, and I always do, but I don't know where the fuck I was going with any of that. I just kept rambling on and on and on and on and on and on, but let me see what I have to fucking talk about today. I was supposed to talk about Kabbalah, how Kabbalah is different than the Abrahamic religions. Well, it's not. It's not and it is, same time. So what happened is, in the Bible itself, we know there's some translations that changed. So astrology, depending on where you look, a lot of people in the church likes to blame Babylonian times for astrology, because in the Babylonian times their astrologers were there, and there's a famous verse in there, and I can't remember the verse itself, like the number and all that, but it's call on your stargazers, your astrologers, maybe they can save you, or it's not even they can save you, they will burn, they are nothing but something to the fire, they will burn, something like that. And it's God or the prophet for God, I don't know, remember who, basically saying you guys are all gonna die. It's your magic against our magic kind of thing. Our God against your gods. And you know, the Bible is biased because obviously the Bible wins. Everything in the Bible wins. You know, Jesus doesn't win, but in the end he comes back, so he wins, right? So, but point is, astrology, they like to think, comes from Babylonian times. So astrology has been demonized. Magic has been demonized. So if ceremonial magic is part of, if Kabbalah is part of this Abrahamic religion, then why is the Abrahamic religion both? Because this is the Old Testament. So that's Judaism, and that is Christianity. So that's two. And I'm pretty sure Islam doesn't like it either. So if it's an Abrahamic religion, well, those being the three Abrahamic religions, I don't see how the Abrahamic religions like this stuff, because, you know, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live, sorcery and witchcraft. There's so many translations that were changed to that. So, and you can derive a couple conclusions from this. And once again, you can't prove really any of them. You can only use your intuition and feel what you feel. And if you're a depolarized enough person on the topic and don't have any emotional ties to the topic, and if it doesn't strike you on an emotional level, then you might be able to trust your intuition. And if it doesn't, if you go all crazy off on it, and you might see me do that, because this is my spirituality. So, you know, who knows? But let's find out, I guess. If you don't have one of those emotional reactions, then maybe you can trust your guidance. Because, you know, that saying, you're too close to this. You know, when a cop on a TV show has to stop the case because they're too close to it, well, that's kind of what this is. If you can't have an objective opinion and look at both sides of the story without having an emotional outburst, reaction, temper tantrum, childlike fit, then you're too close to it. It hurts you on an emotional level. There's nothing wrong with that. Coming from someone who is always striving to become more depolarized, the one thing I learned is, if you become depolarized in all aspects of your life, which is hard to do, it's damn near impossible, but you can remove programming from you like a computer that is vital to you, and it's damn hard to get back. And for a little bit, you're gonna be like a fucking zombie almost, more than people that are addicted to cell phones. Because, not zombie in the sense that you are ignorant and oblivious to what's going on around you, but a zombie in the fact that there's nothing inside that makes you tick. Because you can get rid of positive emotion, but you can't get rid of negative emotion. You can't get rid of pain. That's always there. Now you can become depolarized and people die, and maybe you're dead inside and things don't matter as much, but you can still feel depression. And when you feel nothing, it is like negative emotion almost. It's not a depolarized state. It mimics it, you know. Not having anything to lose can mimic confidence. Well, this is the same thing, but in the negative way, right? So like, having nothing to lose, like, hey, your life is shit, you might as well go ask that girl out. If she says no, it's just another rejection, like, who gives a fuck, right? Well, that can mimic confidence, and that's the positive aspect of it. The negative aspect of it is, if you got nothing to lose and you just fucking say, fuck it, what the fuck, I don't even care, what's the point? I'll just keep on keeping on and nothing matters and I don't feel anything. I can start cutting my wrist right now and the blood would, so I don't like talking about blood, sorry. But you get where I'm going with this. You can't get rid of negative emotion, but you can get rid of positive emotion. And sometimes that happens. Actually, that's happening a lot today. But anyways, I digress on all that. Where was I going? Oh yeah, okay. So I think there's one way to explain what happened here. I believe Jewish mysticism has been around a long time, and Jewish magic is powerful magic. There are hardcore Jews that have books that are not in the Jewish doctrine, if you want to call it that. The Judaism that is the Old Testament has different sectors, just like Christianity has different sectors. And some of those sectors are pretty magical and believe in a bunch of variant of different books that are, I've actually had a few on my channel. The Book of Creation is one of them, so on and so forth. But the Book of Enoch sometimes is used in some of these Jewish religions. So when people say that Kabbalah is an Abrahamic religion, well, if they're referring to the Book of Enoch and people that like listening to the Book of Enoch and using the angel Metatron and doing Enochian magic, then I could see how they get to that. Because Enoch, Enochian, archangels, Noah's Ark, all these things connect. Enochian almost means the same thing as Anunnaki, and you know they have a lot of the same letters as well. So I made a whole episode on that as well. But there's a lot of similarities there. okay, because Enochian is like language of the angels, and Anunnaki means of the angels, or angel realm, or descendant of angels, or something to that effect. And it's all connected. And you know, Enoch turned into the archangel Metatron, which is arguably the most powerful one. Now, I never use angel Metatron. I never have. Probably never will. But I do the lesser banishing of the pentagram, and I know within that practice we call on the archangels, the angels of the quarters, but I also call on the watchers, and I call on the elements. So my practice is a little different, okay? And you know, the East, I call on the element, the elemental, the watcher, and then during the lesser banishing, when I'm purifying my space, is when I call on the archangels, just to be there and to assist me. Now, I do it for the reason that in the beginning I didn't know why we did this process, but I was told you gotta be familiar with them. So if you do ever start doing evocations, this is an invocation, but if you try to evoke something such as a demon or a rebellious spirit, then they're by your side and you have the power to smack them down, because technically these angels are within you, just like the demons are within you. They're within all of us. Now, if you choose to not believe they're within you and your way has a different form of this, then that's okay too. It's all up to the practitioner. But I think it's different strokes for different folks. And I know that's vague and maybe even insensitive. And I'm trying not to be profane to anybody's religion, so that's why I'm not saying specifics. But I believe there's similar practices on every level to all these things. And the reason why I incorporate different systems is so that I can figure out how more of these cultures and more of these systems are alike, so I can figure out how us as a people we're more alike than different. Because if all of our religions are saying the same thing and it just takes a different way of interpreting it, then there's no reason for all the fighting. But that's a different video. But point is, using these guys is because I was told at first and for protection. But now when I know what I know, and which is ultimately protect me from everything, is that it's someone else's egregore, someone else's thought form that was created for a purpose. And it's the same purpose, is to get in touch. It's a system that helps you get in touch with your mind, with your subconscious mind. So whether you're using an archangel because they wanted to seem holier, or maybe they still had programming within them when they created it, so they didn't want to be like, well, in case God really exists, let's use the angels, okay? And you know, so be it. But if the system works, the system works. Now, we have a bunch of different systems because some people don't resonate with that. Some people have programming, and I think this is a way to get around programming for certain people. If someone has been born with a Christian programming, because maybe I haven't got rid of all my Christian programming, and maybe that's why the system works for me. And that's almost word for word what Frederick Xavier says on the Mind and Magic channel. He says he uses this because he came from a Christian background. So therefore, when he's using the archangels, it tends to work better for him than if he was to use Egyptian, Norse, all these different mythologies that, you know, the Bible might be against. But you know, it's the way his programming can work in his favor versus against it. Now, if you have an aversion to that or haven't learned the Bible, well, then you could probably use any system to do this and you don't have anything to worry about. Like I said before, if you have the Bible within deep inside your programming and you're trying to manifest money using magic, well, you're gonna have a hell of a time when there's so many fucking verses in there that say money is of the devil, magic is fucking of the devil, witchcraft, sorcery, and anything, astrology is all of the devil. Well, how the fuck do you think you're gonna manifest? You gotta remove that. You gotta get past that, or you gotta show your mind that these things are just fucking the wrong interpretations, and you interpret it a different way. You can accept the Bible or you can reject it. If you accept it, you need to fucking distinguish what those definitions are. How do you do that? You watch stuff. You read the stuff that's correct over and over and over again until it gets in your fucking head. Go to sleep with it. Wake up with it. Those are the two most powerful times, because you're automatically hitting those perfect mind states, the theta / alpha / delta / whatever waves. Theta's for hypnosis, alpha's for magic. Is how I use it. Delta, sleep, beta, whatever. Anyways, so that's what I would do over and over and over again. I used Frederick Xavier videos, an hour long, where him and a Christian go to battle, where Frederick Xavier says, some of the shit we do in Kabbalah is exactly the same thing as Christianity, except Christianity has changed all these different things. They're fucking saying we're of the devil, yet we're doing it just on a personal level versus giving someone else our power level. And you know, that worked. Lo and behold, I was able to do a lot more things that I couldn't do before. I even wrote him a comment saying, I really appreciate the video. I thanked the guy that was against him. I thanked Frater for making this video. It was hilarious, and it's really helped me to reprogram my mind. You know, no hatred to anybody. What's the fuck's the point? So, is Kabbalah like Christianity? Is it like an Abrahamic religion? Maybe, but it's still taking your own power back, which is all that matters. It doesn't matter if it uses the archangels. If you don't like using the archangels, then don't use the archangels. Don't do something that's counterintuitive for you. If you don't like something, don't go against that inner voice. But depending on what it is, you might want to look at why you hate something so much. Because yes, the church has done some atrocious things, and I am not part of that church, even though I might be on paper, but I'm not part of that church. But to hate anything is hating yourself. To fight with people and argue with people and try to make this world a worse place than a better place is just counterintuitive. You're gonna on one level enjoy it because you get that endorphin release of the whole fear and hatred and all this stuff, and yeah, you feel something, but down the line you're gonna eventually be like, why the fuck did I waste all that time doing that? It ultimately comes down to that. When you're on your deathbed, you regret the things you didn't do versus the things that you did. And when it comes to that one, it's going to be like, well, why didn't I do the opposite than what I did? Because, you know, your path is going to take you on your path. You're going to do things that it's just is what it is. But anyways, I think I'm just going to keep going over and over and over and over. I hope you got my point on there. Nonetheless, I still read the clip off, which is the inverse, which is the demonic one, whatever, and it's beginning apparently. But, you know, I like looking at both sides of the story. I like learning about all spiritualities. When I say all, I mean all. I've read the Luciferian doctrine a few times. I like it. I really do. I can almost come on board with that. And to be honest, the Thunder Wizard's last 2 or 3 videos have actually been bang on. There's a few things obviously I disagree with them with, you know, but nonetheless, like, I learn from everything that I disagree with them, I learn from. And it gives me something useful that I can use. And you know, I'm either ultimately going to come to a he's right or I'm right. But I've learned to not care anymore about it if I'm right or he's right. It doesn't matter. Because in his eyes, he's right. In my eyes, I'm right. And that's all that matters. It's like someone that believes the Christian God is real. They are going to live their life and nothing is going to tell them otherwise. They are just going to be stubborn and go forward, and it's going to be real. And when they pass away, if they were a good person, they're going to have a perceived heaven. And it doesn't matter whether it was like this or not. And they're going to get reincarnated, but the part of their soul that needs to go to heaven is going to go to heaven for a while, and it's just going to redo, you know, and they're going to keep redoing that. But eventually it will stop and whatever. So whatever's real to somebody is real to somebody. And like I said, I think truly you can go other places for your spirituality. You kind of have to. You kind of have to shop around, look around and see what fits you. But eventually you got to go inside you and listen to you and find out what you need from yourself. What does your body need? Because everybody's got some part of their body that they need to fix. Everybody's got some part of their body that might be having trouble, and some part of their body that might cause them death at an earlier age. Therefore, they got to find that out. And who can they go to see that? Well, they can go to a doctor, sure, yeah. But they can also ask themselves and figure it out for themselves. It's the same thing with spirituality. What one would be best for me? What do I need to do? You can ask yourself. You can write it down, automatic writing. You can put it under your pillow as a question for a dream, and then the dream will come up. You can say it in your head before you fall asleep overnight. Put on a recorder that you want to find out what your purpose is, or what religion you should be following, or whatever. There's so many fucking ways. Use this beautiful big fucking thing inside of here that we all have to figure out what you need to do. And keep coming on here for me to give you some helpful hints that'll help you find out what you need to do. Okay? I hope you enjoy. Have a great fucking day.